フルカウンター
LR characters may be one of the best things Netmarble has ever added to Grand Cross. It's a way of getting a super powered up version of a character completely for free. I mean, Escanor is actually really good. His team, not so great, but LR Lost Fame Meliodas as well, another top tier character you can use. And of course, the new LR Liz, that is very good and probably one of the best characters for PvE content. Everything they've done so far has been a complete hit, and I can't wait for the next one to come out in a few weeks. Now, today we're going to go through my top 10 picks about who I think deserves to be an LR. So before we start, boys, let me know in the comments what character you want to see get LR next. And of course, we're going to go through some options that I think are actually very likely. Alright, so the copium is real with this one, but the picks I've done today are more or less iconic characters. Now, I will say, I haven't done it yet, but they decided to pick this Elizabeth, who, if you look in comparison, is definitely not the most iconic and actually not even the most used character. So when it comes to picking, you know, an LR King, an LR Meliodas, an LR Diane, it doesn't have to be the most popular one. It can be the most fitting one and also the one that I guess will look the best, right? So while I definitely would prefer an LR full wing king or even the small wing king, the festival one, who had almost no time or no play on actual global, this one is just too iconic to pass up. Him just saying fossilization brings back so much nostalgia, but of course he has a good base setup to buff up fairies, and I think right now, while we should have had it before with obviously the new Elaine that came out, him having a cleanse is actually very sought after right now in the meta. The new Hell characters came out who focuses on obviously debuffing, so if we got an LR King to kind of throw in the mix and actually have a cleanse in the meta, it'll kind of shake things up a little bit. So the blue skinny king, I would definitely love to get LR next. Okay, when it comes to Merlin, it's really up in the air, but it can go both ways. I mean, you can easily do this Merlin, the basic one, which has Perfect Cube, one of her most iconic, obviously, moves, which can easily get buffed up here. She's got a pretty good relic as well, with that buffs up unknown race allies damage by 35%. And of course, the big iconic one is the actual ultimate gain that you get for using the sub slot. I do imagine if she actually did get LR, she'd actually be good in the front line. So once again, for Merlin, they could easily make this for an LR, but honestly, my pick would be Lolly Merlin. Mainly because of the kit that she does have. It's a really good kit. Once again, Infect is just so important. Now, obviously, you do bear in mind when they actually make an LR, they do typically add skills to it. So if they gave like this, for example, Infect, but also Sever, and then gave her a more of a crit unit, and just once again, the character with damage cap would be probably bad for the meta and the game, because her being relevant is actually not good for the health of the game. But still, I think in terms of like, you know, a big DPS Merlin, we haven't really seen it ever in the game. I mean, the Infinity Merlin is obviously, you know, kind of a DPS character, but she's still very new and can do with Relic. But I think in terms of being a big DPS Merlin, this is the only one we have right now. For Barn, it's a pretty simple one. Now, they could definitely go towards, you know, the older ones that generally no one's ever used. Or maybe they want to go in towards the blue one because he's sort of like a demolish people after character and make him more of a PvE friendly character. But we gotta say Nunchuck Barn, the most iconic Barn probably in the game. I guess next to Parody Barn because he kind of ruined the game a little bit. But this one was so fun to use during the first early days of Grand Cross. He has got a really cool ability, or at least he did at the time, and not so much now. But once again, giving this guy a bunch of buffs and making him a bit more relevant would be very nostalgic. Once again, I think LR's, the way they're supposed to do it is to capture the nostalgic of the game and the buff up the characters we used to love using back in the past that obviously fell out over time. And LR Barn for obviously green coin shop Barn would be perfect. Plus, if free to play, you can buy him, although I'm sure you have this guy 6/6 probably. And of course, I have already mentioned it, but when you do get LR, you do get an upgrade towards the actual outfits, and Barn's actual armor is one of the best in the sense next to Escanor. So once again, I'd love to see just get a massive upgrade to turn it into something nice. Alright, so Diane is a very tricky one because it can really be anyone. She's always had a usage, she's always been around the meta a little bit, but I think you're talking about the most iconic one that is, you know, still very old, would probably be this Diane, because once again, during the one meta, she was by far one of the best characters in the game, just to counter the one. But then the thing is though, we already have a Taunt Diane, so do we need another LR Taunt Diane? Because once again, they kind of identically do the same thing, right? You just taunt for the team. This one can be a bit more of a DPS as well. But once again, you can't go wrong with the OG Diane, who's once again free in the story mode, so everyone literally has her. But I do think this Diane has probably the best chance, just because her actual skills are very bland, and is basically a template for an LR character. Once again, attack seal will be very good, but you can imagine she's going to get something on a tier 1 and make this get a bit better. Rupture with something else would be broken. I mean, right now, with obviously Demon King having an actual buff for all the demons, would be perfect for this Diane. And the ultimate is just plain. once again, an easy template to add something onto it for an actual LR character. It's just, once again, an easy way to make this Diana actual DPS character. And honestly, if we are going to get an Diana, I think she's almost guaranteed. Eri. Honestly, I've said it multiple times in my videos in the past few years now, but I think her design in terms of like how she works in the anime is one of the best in the series. Like, they've made what her actual skill is to where when she attacks, she does more damage. They just translate that so well into Grand Cross, and I would love for her to get an LR. Once again, I think her base as well is just the best easy thing to give to an LR. I mean, her skill 1 doesn't do anything, so adding a skill effect through an LR would be perfect. You can see on screen now, I've actually made it like an LR design for this Eri, and she'll be so fun to use. And once again, I love the idea of actually buffing up and, you know, using skill every single turn to buff up and make her as powerful as possible. Plus, she doesn't have a relic, so obviously if we get an LR, they can obviously give her an actual relic as well to make it a bit better. I mean, for PvE, she's one of the most iconic characters. She literally changed the game. No one before she came out was doing the numbers she was doing. So I think in terms of iconic, you know, characters in Grand Cross history, and also the fact that it's Eri, like, she has to get an LR. I would say probably one of the first demons because she's just so important. Maybe not in terms of the lore of 70 Sins, but I think in the lore of Grand Cross, she is, yeah, definitely one of the top ones. Talking about the lore and important characters in Grand Cross history, we gotta mention Green Jericho. She was an absolute beast, and honestly was the go-to guild boss, knighthood, you know, founder boss character until Eri came out. So she's kind of in the same boat where she was a PvE god, still a pretty good character, but a very glass cannon, and she was so fun to use. Once again, her actual skill was just so sick, man. The weak point going straight in for an actual, like, you know, just one-hit KO on the character was so fun to see back in the past. Her crit chance combos, which is a build up her crit damage, was just so fun to use, man. And once again, I would love if this character got an LR. Plus, not to mention, her outfits are very good. Going back, these outfits are one of my favorites in the whole game, and you know, you can't use them no more. So if they give her an LR character and we can now use these characters and outfits again, it'll be sick. So Jericho, I believe, will be probably one of the first, you know, characters outside of the Sins to get LR, just because she's, yeah, a must, man. I mean, probably won't be too great in PvP nowadays because most bosses, especially the multi battles, are actually immune to, obviously, debuffs, so weak points not gonna be too great, but maybe they change it around with LRs and make her a bit better. Listen, I'm probably the least person that wants to give demons more support, but Esterosa, once again, very much like Eri, was a very iconic character. Didn't have too much play onto global because we were in such a rush to get towards Lost Vein that you know, this Esterosa didn't have too much time to shine on, obviously, global in comparison towards JP, but full counters. I mean, we got Chandler, who's very toxic in the meta right now. Well, not really too much, but I missed the full counter. I would love an actual full counter Meliodas, who we still don't have in the game 4 years into the game. You know, an actual SSR one, of course. But I do love, and I wish more characters got this in the future, where we get some sort of preemptive strike. I mean, no other character in the game has gotten this other than Esterosa, and it's such a cool, unique, this, like, skill effect that you just don't see. It's like, you basically skip a ton. It's very cool, and I would love to see it. Alright, I'm the last person that wants to give an LR towards the Natural Catastrophe unit, but I can't deny the impact this character had. This Leah was very important in the history of Grand Cross in terms of buffing up his characters. Once again, going back towards my King theory that, you know, we don't really have cleanse and heals no more in the meta, so them buffing up this skill, it was a very fun thing. You know, we used to rely on heal cards rather than Tamu Grace, and once again, I would love for this character. I mean, look, I don't like OC as much nowadays, but this one I very much do like because she's just, once again, nostalgic, right? Just seeing this skill effect was very cool in the game. Her animations and what she does to where she buffs up the team is, once again, can be very good if they buff up and make to an LR. And then the final one is Galan. Yes, I know more demon support, but I will say this character, instead of being an amplified character, is very fun. But the reason why I chose this Galan, more importantly, is for two reasons. One, the Galan game. Taunting the character at the start of the battle is what we've seen recently with, obviously, Summer Freya and, obviously, you know, Ghislaine as well. And it's a very cool mechanic. So once again, this guy having a passive will be very good. Doesn't have a relic either, but I think most importantly is the actual commandment. Now, we don't know if they're gonna actually change the commandment. Probably most likely won't, but this one has the most potential because rank up is so important in the game. So of course, right now, the only way this works is by using a go for rank up, and obviously when you use go for rank up, it only freezes himself. Since no one is really using go for rank up nowadays, what if you just merge manually and you boom, you get petrified? That'll be very, very good as well. Or if you attack Lost Vein Kain, and he gets a rank up for being attacked, and then boom, he gets petrified. Once again, I feel like Galen's passive and Galen himself would be the more unique characters to get LR in the game, and has so much to work with. Once again, Bleed, I mean, he's probably going to be used on the actual Demon King's team, but that can bypass damage cap. Critical over such an iconic line and just a cool voice actor. So Galen is the last character on my list for top 10 characters that deserve to be the LR next. So yeah, boys, that's going to wrap up today's video. A little honorable mention where I guess go towards obviously Ladiciel, because LRs actually do increase your stats by a drastic amount towards you're the highest in the game. So this guy getting an LR would be absolutely broken, and honestly I don't know if they should do that, because this guy being meta is not a good thing. Unless you're a YouTuber and you want to mix with showcases. So boys, thank you for watching, and yeah, peace.